Wow, that was a hike. Man, that was really nice. So let's have a look at what we did. So we started with the beat down here and went through the looping up to here, and this is a really fabulous view here on top of the first mountain. Signals and cables. Yeah, let's have a recap on what we looked at. So we started with the VLAB layer 1, the physical layer. There we looked at different physical media. You remember the cables here. So this is the glass cable here. And we also looked at the copper and so on. We looked at wireless media. We looked at encoding. So how could we create some shapes, some electromagnetic waves that were moving over between two connected hosts so that we could send over some signals and actually then some data between them. We looked at noisy channels, remember the vacuum cleaning thing, and then we went over to the data link layer, to the VLAB layer 2. There we looked at Ethernet frames and their format, so how can the protocol instances on the different hosts communicate to each other. Then we looked at the addressing using the MAC addresses. We looked at the network topologies and collision domains. We looked at devices such as these switches here, and we also looked at the medium access, and we looked at network interfaces such as this network card here and how directly connected hosts can communicate. Great, so now you already know the fundamentals. You actually know how two hosts can communicate. But this is not all, because the internet is not just directly connected hosts, but when you open a website, you're typically going through multiple hosts until you reach the destination. And this is exactly what we will look at in the next part, because the next part is called the Internet Protocol, and the Internet Protocol is about addressing hosts that are more than one so-called hop away from each other. So next time we'll look at VLAB layer 3, the Internet Protocol, and we'll start with IPv4. So IPv4 was the first version of this Internet Protocol. It allows us to address hosts among multiple hops, provides some interesting mechanisms, and is getting replaced by the IPv6. So we'll get to know about this. IPv6 will be our main focus. So there we'll look at addressing. So in the layer 2, you've learned about the MAC addresses. On layer 3, we again have addresses. We also have headers again, and we learn about IP addresses here. We learn about auto configuration. So how can a host get such an address? We learn about supporting protocols that help us in maintaining such multi-hop communication. And we learn about packet forwarding, and we'll look at static routing. And static routing is how can we explicitly manually configure a chain of hosts so that when this host wants to communicate with the last one in the chain, the packets are forwarded between the hosts. And once we know that, we in principle know how the internet can be built, so how data can be sent from one end of the internet to another end of the internet, and we'll use this knowledge then in the second part of the Internet Protocol, which will be in our part 3, to look at how can this automatically be configured. And we do not only have the static routing there, so the process of getting information through the network, but we also have fragmentation, because when you think about downloading a video, for instance, then this is a huge piece of data, and it would not work to transmit it in just one packet, because this would occupy the channel all the time and then no one else could communicate, and therefore we'll get to know how this can be fragmented into different parts that are then sent step by step, and how it still can arrive at the destination. So wow, there's many more things to learn, and as you went through the first part, you have a perfect foundation for next week, where we will move upwards the layers to the layer 3, look at the Internet Protocol, and get to know how not only directly connected, but further away hosts can communicate through this magic internet system. Cool. So we'll relax now. We hope you enjoyed it. We wish you also nice relaxation from this first part. Relax a bit, remember all the nice things, remember what the bees did, so we'll have a nice B story also next time, so they will again have some problems, but you will definitely be able to solve them together with them. And see you next week. Bye bye.